The night was lit by flames and chaos. Screams echoed through the narrow street as fire devoured the small apartment building. Amid the thick smoke and the cries for help, a thin figure in torn clothes pushed past the terrified crowd. She had no home, no family, and no reason to risk her life, but that didn't stop her. "Someone's still in there," a man shouted, but no one moved. Then, without a second thought, the homeless woman threw her blanket aside and ran straight into the burning building. Moments later, she emerged, covered in soot, her arms trembling, but in her hands, she cradled a small child coughing for air. The crowd gasped. Sirens wailed in the distance. The woman collapsed beside the child, whispering, "You're safe now, baby." But what no one knew, what not even she could imagine, was that the child she had just saved belonged to one of the city's wealthiest men, and that her act of courage would change her life forever. The fire, the pain, and the past. Her name was Lena Carter, though few people knew it. Most just called her the Bag Lady. She slept near the old train station under a flickering street lamp, her few possessions tucked inside a weathered shopping cart. Every day was a quiet battle, finding food, staying warm, avoiding the cruel eyes of passers-by who saw her as invisible or worse, a burden. But Lena hadn't always been like this. Once, she was a mother, a wife. She had a little girl named Emily, with bright blue eyes and laughter that could fill a room. Until tragedy took it all away. A drunk driver. A rainy night. One phone call that shattered her world. Emily was gone, and her husband couldn't bear the grief. He left soon after, and Lena's world spiraled. She lost her job, her home, and finally, her will to keep trying. Still, even after all the pain, she never lost her heart. That night, as she sat by the curb with a half-eaten sandwich she'd found behind a diner, she smelled smoke. At first, she thought someone was burning trash. But when she looked up, the orange glow against the night sky told her otherwise. She followed the light and turned the corner, only to see the top floor of an apartment engulfed in flames. People screamed. Fire crackled. A mother cried out, "My son! My son's still inside." The firefighters hadn't arrived yet. The flames spread quickly, licking the night like a monster unleashed. Lena froze, her mind flashing back to her daughter, to the day she couldn't save her. Not again. Not this time. Without thinking, she ran toward the building. Someone grabbed her arm, shouting, "You'll die in there." But she tore free and disappeared into the smoke. Inside, the heat was unbearable. The hallway was a tunnel of fire. She covered her face with a rag and crawled low to the ground, calling out, "Where are you, baby?" A small cough answered her. In a corner of the room, a little boy no older than 5 huddled behind a desk, tears streaming down his ash-streaked cheeks. Hours later, Lena woke in a hospital bed. Her hands were bandaged, her face burned. The nurse told her she had inhaled too much smoke but would recover. When she asked about the boy, the nurse smiled softly. "He's fine. You saved his life." Lena closed her eyes in relief. She didn't ask for thanks. For her, saving that child had healed something deep inside, the part of her heart that had been broken for years. But outside the hospital, chaos stirred again, this time in a different world. The child she saved was Michael Hayes Jr., the only son of Jonathan Hayes, a self-made millionaire and CEO of Hayes Industries. When Jonathan arrived at the hospital, he was pale with fear and gratitude. His entire world revolved around that boy, his only family after his wife's passing. When he learned a homeless woman had risked her life to save his son, he was stunned. "Where is she?" he demanded. "I want to see her. I want to thank her." But by the time he reached Lena's room, it was empty. She had slipped away quietly, not wanting attention, not used to kindness. The hospital staff only found a small note left on her bed. "Please make sure the boy is okay. That's all that matters." Jonathan was determined to find her. For days, he searched, sending his team to every shelter, hospital, and street corner. The story went viral. Homeless hero saves child from fire. Read the headlines.